Welcome to Rise Up in Business, the law podcast for small business owners. This podcast is designed to share important legal information without the stuffy legal jargon. I'm Tracy Milacrane. Let's get into today's episode. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Rise Up in Business podcast. I do a lot of strategy sessions with clients, particularly new clients, when they're trying to get their head around what legal documents they need, why, how to do it, and what to do with those documents. A lot of questions that I've been fielding lately relate to website legal documents because more and more businesses, as we know, have gone online, and online programs and courses are becoming a really hot thing right now, and rightfully so. So what I'm going to do in today's episode of the podcast is take you through a strategy session with a new client for website documents. So you can see what that's like, and so you can see exactly how it is that I work with my clients and what exactly it is I ask you and how I step through what you do on your website and in your business, so you can get a feel for how I work. It's a question I'm asked a lot. How do the strategy sessions work? Do I have to do any preparation? Things like that. So in today's episode, I'm going to take you through, in short, we're not going to go for an hour, obviously, so it'll be a short version just to give you an idea. First thing I do always is take time to understand the business. So if there is already a website, I'll dive in and have a look at that so I can gauge what is being offered and what's happening on that website, because that's the starting point I need to start working out what protections and what legal compliance we need to cover for your website documents. That's the first thing. Once I jump into the session with a client, I will start asking questions about what it is they want the website to be doing. Because, believe it or not, sometimes people don't realise that the website needs some work, or that it's not particularly clear on the website what their offerings are, where their downloadables are, where their programs are, and things like that. So I get a feel for what it is that they want the website to be doing, so I can actually see that it's doing that. If it's not and there's holes there, then we talk about that, and so I know what's coming or what's to come. So I could also make sure that I'm drafting website terms and conditions and any program or course terms for what's about to happen in the business. Once we've got some clarity around the services that are being promoted, any blogs, any freebie downloads, programs and courses, any pre-recorded workshops or masterclasses that can be purchased, any products that are available for sale, I then start fleshing out a draft plan of what it is that we need to include in the legal framework. It'll always be website terms and conditions. That's always going to be there. It's a must-have, as you know, because you've probably been listening to me for a while. Those terms and conditions are going to have all the protections around intellectual property, liability limitation, waivers, and then depending on what else the business does, we develop those accordingly. There will be a privacy policy. If you've been listening to me for a while, you'd have heard me say a privacy policy is really important for any small business to build trust with clients and consumers and to develop credibility. Whilst there is privacy legislation in Australia and there are some exceptions for small businesses, my view is that any small business wanting to build trust with their clients and wanting to establish credibility really ought to be transparent and professional and have a privacy policy on the website. So the website T's and C's and a privacy policy will be a must, and we will talk through in the strategy session why they need to be there, where they go, and I'll develop in conversation with the client anything in particular that needs to be included that applies to that particular business. Then we dive into the programs and courses, and this is where it's a really collaborative process because I'm asking lots of things in this session, and often my client hasn't thought about those things before, so it's new. So there's a Q&A. Have you thought about payment terms? Are you offering payment plans? How long are those payment plans going to be? What are you going to do if someone defaults? Is it the case that the full amount then becomes due and payable? Do you remove them from the program? If you're offering payment plans, have you thought about dripping your content rather than making everything available as soon as the participant's given access? These are the sorts of conversations that we have so that I can really educate and empower my client to know what the options are. Yes, I can provide my guidance and my advice around best practice, what's common, what in my experience works well, what doesn't work, what will likely leave you exposed. So it's a really valuable session because we get that interaction where I can provide my tips and tricks based on my many years of experience in doing this, and I can hear from the client what's really important to them and what they ultimately want to achieve in this experience with this course or program. We cover what's included in the course, how I'm going to protect that intellectual property, how long the course is going to run or how long the program's going to run, and then how long do the participants have access to that portal after the program's concluded. Some courses and programs will have lifetime access. Some won't. Some will only be available for, say, 3 to 6 months after the course has been completed. But these are things that we think about as we're diving into this level of detail in the strategy session. I always ask the questions around testimonials and reviews and feedback. If you want to be able to use testimonials and reviews for your marketing, for the sales page, for future iterations of the course, well, then I need to know that because I need to make sure that your website terms and conditions have clauses that meet the requirements for user-generated content, because those types of reviews and feedback are user-generated content and we can't just take it and use it unless we've outlined in our T's and C's that we're going to do that. We always talk through how the terms and conditions for these courses and memberships, or whatever the offerings are going to be communicated to participants signing up to make sure that the client, my client, is complying with the consumer law obligations for absolute maximum protection. Most of the time, when we're talking online courses and programs, that will be by way of ClickWrap. ClickWrap, as you know from listening to me when I talk about this so often, is what you need as a business owner when you are selling something on your website. You need to make sure that the tailored terms and conditions in relation to what's being sold is set up and provided by way of a ClickWrap. That's where you have to tick a box to say that you've read and agreed to the terms and conditions. If you don't have those, you're not complying with the law and you're not protected. So you need to have those. And we talk about that so I can explain that process and I can understand what platform's going to be used. I've worked with clients across a range of platforms, some more user-friendly than others, but we have that conversation so we can talk through how that's going to work. Sometimes, not as often, but sometimes my clients don't actually want anybody being able to sign up to a program, particularly if it's a more exclusive or numbers limited container, because they want to be able to have a phone call first to ensure that the consumer or the client is the right fit, because no one wants somebody in their program if they're not the right fit, because it won't serve either you or the person signing up. So in those cases, when clients do want to have that discovery call with somebody before they sign up, then often what happens is my client wants to be able to issue either an agreement, a mastermind, for example, a mastermind agreement, or a separate set of terms and conditions exclusively to that person after they've both agreed that they're the right fit and that they're going to get value out of the container. That's a different process. And so it's important for me to know that that's the process my client wants to go through, so that when I'm drafting program terms and conditions, I can tailor them to the processes that are going to serve my client and ensure a smooth and professional experience for the person signing up to the program. So as you can see, there's lots of variables and there's lots of moving parts. It is crystal clear to you by now, I'm sure, that there is no one size fits all to these things, and it really isn't a cookie cutter approach. It just can't be if you want to do it well. These sessions give me the opportunity to explain to the client what their options are, what works well, what's going to leave them exposed, what they need to do so they can go away and make some really informed, positive decisions that are going to best serve their business as they're moving forward to that next level. These sessions allow us to make sure that we have covered everything in the business. And whilst I'm just taking you through here what a typical approach to website documents looks like, we take this same approach to other service offerings. Masterminds, one-on-one coaching, or design or development, any other professional services. And if you are going to include a shop on the website for products because you're going to sell merchandise or something similar, then we have that conversation organically in this strategy session so that everything is covered. Everything that you want to do, offer and serve by way of your business is covered in these sessions so that you have a crystal clear understanding of what your legal obligations are, what you need to be protected, and what I say is best practiced to establish trust and credibility with your clients. So in short, that's how I approach a strategy session. I know many of you are wondering how these sessions work. That's how they work. If there is material that the client would like me to see and review beforehand, then I always ask for that. I always ask for at least 48 hours in advance just to give me a chance to make sure that I can read and digest it and give it the attention that it needs. That's how they work. If a strategy session sounds like something that you would benefit from in your business, you can jump over and make a booking directly via the website for a time that suits you. We'll include the link in the show notes, but in case you're driving or out walking the dog, the website is tmsolicitor.com.au and the booking page is tmsolicitor.com.au/book-now. That's it from me for today. I hope you have found that helpful and that's given you some insight into how I start working with clients in a strategy session environment. Any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to answer because, hey, that's what I'm here for. Thanks so much for listening. I'll catch you next time.